Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Selena Belisle, the founder and one of the instructors here at CE Institute, where we teach manual lymphatic drainage. We usually teach paid CE certificate training for massage therapists, body workers, cosmetologists, and even though we don't issue CE credits for physical therapists and occupational therapists and nurses right now, we do have a lot of those professional industry practitioners in our classes as well, especially for manual lymphatic drainage. This is a growing modality within the body worker industry as we're looking for opioid-free ways to treat and manage pain. Now, what I'd like to review with you today is a quick oversight of 5 common types of treatments that are being advertised as lymphatic drainage. I don't necessarily feel that all of these treatments do provide lymphatic drainage, and they're not all necessarily appropriate for people with swelling. But I do want to review them with you because there's some confusion amongst the public about really what is manual lymphatic drainage. What is it? Because they see machines being advertised to provide this. They see it being advertised in massage therapists with their hands. Let me review the common types of treatment that are being advertised as lymphatic drainage. If you want to review this article, we have a lot more in it in greater detail. You can find it at massagemag.com. And it's called MT's Ask, How is Manual Lymphatic Drainage Different than Swedish Massage? So let's look at the 5 common types of treatment that are advertised as lymphatic drainage. The first type of treatment is the real treatment, manual lymphatic drainage. It's practiced with your hands, okay? And these techniques, Emil Vauder is kind of like our founder or father of manual lymphatic drainage. His work dates back to the 1930s. So it's almost this 100-year-old modality where we use our hands over a client's skin, manipulate the skin to try and relieve and reduce swelling, which naturally provides pain relief for most people. Now, these techniques that we practice with our hands are not massage techniques. They're very, very light manipulations of the skin, usually practiced with our bare hands. So it's skin on skin contact with the lightest of pressure. And this pressure, it's sometimes referred to as capillary work. We're trying to manipulate anchoring filaments to open up these capillary, the lymphatic capillaries, and absorb excess interstitial fluid, the swelling or edema in the area, and collect this into the capillaries to eliminate swelling in a localized area. We can also do full body treatments as long as you've ruled out contraindications, such as things like organ failure or an infection within the body or something like that. So manual lymphatic drainage is usually skin on skin, a therapist or practitioner's hand on the client's bare skin, manipulating the skin where the initial lymphatics are to absorb excess swelling. It's draining that swelling from the client's tissue and absorbing it into the lymphatic system that collects excess interstitial fluid and returning it to the cardiovascular system to be eliminated from the body. It's true drainage. Now, some people are advertising lymphatic drainage massages. I scratch my head on this one. I've seen people advertise this where they say, oh, you don't have to get undressed. We're going to work through your clothes and we're not going to do the capillary work. We're going to skip it because we're going to work on your larger vessels, trunks, and ducts. Well, you know what? That's not really true lymphatic drainage. You're just kind of pushing fluid, maybe. There aren't a whole lot of research studies to support the work. And I like to teach from evidence when we teach manual lymphatic drainage here at the school. We think that if you're pushing on a client who might be swollen, that's contraindicated. What happens with swelling is the tissues stretch. They usually stretch beyond their normal range of motion. That's what causes the pain. And a lot of people come to us for pain relief, to relieve the swelling, to improve healing and increase the healing process, kind of speed it up. And if you're pressing into tissue that's already stretched, you could further stretch or tear the tissue. and that's creating secondary damage. So we do not believe there's any such thing as massaging the lymphatic system because A, it's contraindicated to massage swelling. You're just probably going to do more tissue damage, which will create more swelling, and it's going to be like this domino effect that never ends. Second of all, we don't believe working through the clothes is beneficial because you're pressing too hard and bypassing the initial lymphatics where all the absorption and drainage actually occurs. And third, you can't skip the capillary work. It's nice to press in the vessels if you can really reach it, and they're usually very deep, these larger trunks and ducts. But even if you could manipulate them, what happens if there's no fluid there? You need to collect the fluid out of the tissues, the interstitial fluid, and form lymph to be able to propel it back towards the cardiovascular system. So that's what true manual lymphatic drainage is. It's skin on skin, working with the initial lymphatics with very light techniques, special techniques that do not create secondary damage when you're working with swelling. Now, there is another technique out there called incisional drainage. Somebody here in Florida, which is where we are, they were issued an emergency restraining order for practicing incisional drainage. And what it is when a practitioner takes somebody who's had recent surgery and they press the tissue around the surgical incision and try and force any edema or swelling that's inside the body outside of the body through that surgical incision. This is not within a massage therapist scope of practice, and it's not medically advisable. First of all, when you rupture that surgical incision to force fluid out of it, you are creating a greater risk of fibrosis to develop with a client by re-rupturing tissue that's already proliferating and healing. Second of all, when you re-rupture the surgical incision to continually force edema out of it, this exposes the client to new infections. It can be very painful. Unfortunately, most people who have swelling post-surgical are on opioids, so they usually are able to tolerate such a treatment. But, think about it, massage therapists, spas, salons, even physical therapists and occupational therapists, we are not sterilizing our tables, our treatment tables. You would need to sterilize a treatment table if this was healthy, which it's not, because it's probably going to create more tissue fibrosis. Furthermore, while it might relieve some of the swelling by forcing it out of the body, when you re-rupture a surgical incision and put this force in the swelling, the body's natural response is going to be to swell even more to heal this new trauma. So again, you've got like that domino effect. So we do not recommend incisional drainage whatsoever. In matter of fact, the Florida Surgeon General has issued an emergency restraining order against a massage therapist that was advertising this. And they have come together in this emergency restraining order and said that lymphatic drainage is truly a practice of very light movements, hand movements over the body. It would never be to forcefully expel fluid in an unsterilized capacity outside of the body. Pressotherapy. We have a picture here that shows like a compression garment suit. Pressotherapy also could not be called manual lymphatic drainage. This is not being performed by a massage therapist with their hands. A therapist or practitioner might help somebody into the garment so they can relieve this with pressotherapy. There is usually something like an air compressor that's compressing this garment against the skin and then relaxing. So it's a nice relaxing treatment, and it might help improve circulation, which is why some people are calling this lymphatic drainage. However, it's not true manual lymphatic drainage. So garment therapy, pressotherapy, and these types of things should be isolated. And if they want to call themselves lymphatic drainage, that's another debate. But manual lymphatic drainage can only be practiced by a therapist with their actual hands. The last type of advertised lymphatic drainage treatment, which I'm not going to show you any examples because I don't want to promote one over another, is there are some machines out there, specifically cupping machines and other types of machines that are saying that, oh, these are promoting lymphatic drainage. And as somebody who teaches for the national board, NCB, TMB approved lymphatic drainage courses, I must tell you that true lymphatic drainage is very light body work. I do not feel this could be achieved through machinery. So the only thing that I ask is that if you are going to advertise lymphatic drainage through the use of a machine, please say exactly that. You are going to use a machine to attempt to achieve lymphatic drainage. There is very little research that shows these machines are unbiased research that shows these machines actually improve drainage of excess swelling or edema within the interstitial tissues, but that's a debate for another day. The only true manual lymphatic drainage out there is by a practitioner who has appropriate training in manual lymphatic drainage techniques when they're using their bare hands. If you're working on somebody post-surgical and there might be blood product or, you know, a recent surgical incision that's stitched, those I might wear sterilized gloves, but I usually, as long as the skin is intact and there's no risk of active bleeding or blood product on the skin, I like to use my bare hands directly on the client's skin to perform true manual lymphatic drainage. That's what we know really works. There's lots of studies that show its efficacy. It helps prevent secondary injury, amongst other benefits, wonderful benefits, being able to improve your range of motion, relieve pain. Some people have had a boost of energy with manual lymphatic drainage techniques and more that we found in the research studies. So if you want to learn more about manual lymphatic drainage, we would love to see you in one of the classes here at the school. We teach pre-recorded, live in person, and live interactive webinars. Our website is ceinstitute.com. The CE standing in continuing education, ceinstitute.com. And until we see you in another training, be safe.